Hi, I just want to talk you through courtship and mating behaviour. So most of my PowerPoints you see just have pictures, so it makes sense really for me to try and explain what's going on in here. So I managed to get this new piece of technology, which means I can film the screen and me talking at the same time, so that really works. So today's lesson is on courtship and mating behaviour. Okay. Um, so I think we've looked at this already. What is a species? What's the definition of a species? So if you remember, a species is the idea that when two organisms mate, they can produce fertile offspring. If two organisms mate and they can produce offspring that is infertile, and I don't mean that as a one-off, I mean every single time that's done it's an infertile organism. It means that the original parents are of different species. So the reason that leads into this, what we're doing today, is because we have to talk about courtship. So courtship is a series of behaviours that occur before mating, and it's done for a number of reasons. Organisms have this courtship dance, or it might be that they are have a certain colour display, or there's some really funny things which I'm going to try and share some videos, especially birds of paradise. But the main crux of it is the fact that these behavioural patterns that organisms do to each other, it helps them recognise the fact that they're members of the same species. If there's any part of the dance or routine that the other opposite sex doesn't recognise, it means they don't find them attractive and they won't mate with them. So it's species specific, so that organisms can recognise members of their own species. Secondly, it identifies a mate who is actually capable of breeding. So a younger organism, if it's not ready yet to do this, it won't recognise this pattern. Only when it gets to a certain level of maturity will it recognise it, and therefore breeding can happen. Means they can form a pair bond. So this is very important in organisms that have to invest a lot of time and energy into bringing up their offspring. So things like, for instance, penguins, they have to have a very strong pair bond, because one of those is going to be going out to sea and doing hunting and bringing back food. The other one has got to stand there on the ice with eggs balanced on their feet for a significant amount of time. So they need a very strong pair bond to keep that system going. Finally, synchronized mating, so that the gametes mature at the same time and meet. So this will increase the chance of fertilization, and it's more likely for it to work. So there's lots of different possibilities. I'll share a video of these. You'll be able to see these if you can go out, especially places like Etherow Park. In Comstall, they have grebes there, and there's a fabulous courtship dance that the grebes do. I'll post a video of what they do. Quite near the end, they show their nesting material to each other, and I guess it's a way of just showing, oh, this is what this is my pad, and that's my pad, and oh, that's good enough nesting material. You're clearly a good enough mate, so therefore we will mate. It's not always behavioural things though. So sometimes there are colour changes. So this is the three-pronged stickleback. And when it's ready to mate, especially the male, the underside of its belly goes a bright red colour. And so it can show from a distance that this organism is ready to mate. This is the three-pronged stickleback, but you can see it has a very specific routine that it does. So if you look at the very bottom of the screen down here, you can see female appears, and that prompts this male to do a zigzag dance. And the zigzag dance, so she's going to court, that means she's paying attention to it. He will lead, she will follow. He shows the nest entrance, but if you can see, it's she does something, he does something in response. If she's happy with it, she does something in response. So it's a sequence of behaviours that allows them to recognise the fact that they're both ready to mate and they're both the same species. If these two individuals were slightly different species, it might mean that the order in which these things happen are different. And if that's the case, it will basically turn one of them off. They'll go, oh, I'm not interested, you're clearly not the same species as me. There are loads of really interesting examples. I know it's a bit of a blurry image, but this is an image of a spider, and generally speaking, in the spider world, the female is much bigger than the male, but this is a really interesting example. So what we have here is you have a male spider that brings the female a food package, and he gives her this food package, and she basically starts eating this food package while he mates with her. Now, if that food package is a small one, she will finish that food package before he's finished, and therefore she'll eat him as well. However, if he's a fit enough male, he will have been able to gather a much bigger food package. So that means she'll eat the food package, he'll be done and on his way, and he won't get eaten in the process. So there's some quite interesting scenarios that happen. We'll scroll down from here. So these are the 3 that I'm going to show you. What I'll do is I'm going to put the links. They're from YouTube, and it shows you the birds of paradise, and they do some very, very bizarre rituals. Usually it's the females are really plain in appearance, and the males are much more elaborately, I'd say dressed then, have much more elaborate feathers and colours, and it's usually the males that do all the dancing and the females that do the choosing. Is that different from our society? I'm not entirely sure. Anyway, so I will put these up for you. But just to go back, this is the main reason for courtship. So species-specific, organisms can recognise members of their own species, helps to identify a mate is capable of breeding, they'll form a pair bond, and it synchronises mating. And just remember, this could be a series of behaviours, but if they are members of the same species, the sequence of those behaviours will be the same. If they are closely related organisms, then actually a lot of the behaviours will be very similar, but the sequence might be slightly out. And if that happens, it means one member will not recognise the other one as being from the same species. It will interrupt the courtship behaviour, and it will not lead to mating. Okay? Right, I'm going to post everything else up for you so you can have a look at some interesting videos, and then I'll post some questions for you to attempt to. Thank you very much.